Yes, people can show their hands. And also, Manisha, to answer your question, it is being live streamed. So we will get a YouTube link once you'll all get your YouTube link once. It'll be there on our website once it's ready. Okay, I think we have quorum. Should we get started?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. I have no idea where all of you are joining from, but a warm welcome to the inaugural LearnQuest Classical Music Workshop and Lecture Demonstration Sessions. It's so wonderful to see so many of you passionate Rasikas gathered here to embark on this journey, a musical journey, and a journey of cultural exploration. So over the next few weeks leading up to our grand festival that starts on March 29th, we are so thrilled to offer a series of workshops and lecture demonstrations every 2 weeks. Each of these is designed to enrich your understanding and appreciation of classical music and dance. These sessions will not only showcase the depth and beauty of this timeless art form, it also will provide a platform for meaningful engagement and learning. For more information on the conference itself, go to www.learnquest.org. And also, in response to an overwhelming demand from both you, our dedicated audience, and enthusiastic interest from our talented musicians, we are so delighted to announce that we are expanding the festival to 2 weekends. This extension allows us to offer even more incredible performances and immersive experiences. And this caters to the growing appetite for classical music in our community. Also, I'm excited to share that this year we are introducing a new dimension to our festival, classical dance. In our continuous effort to celebrate diverse facets of the performing arts, classical dance will add a graceful and rhythmic element to our already vibrant showcase. So we commence this workshop series, and I encourage each of you to embrace the learning opportunities, connect with your fellow music enthusiasts, and savor the rich tapestry of classical music and dance that await us. Together, let's make this LearnQuest Classical Music Conference a celebration of artistic experience, expression, and cultural harmony. And to kick this off, we have Ramana Akkella, and I will hand off to Heyram to introduce him. Let the music and dance begin.
Namaste, friends. Today we have Ramana Kellaji with us, and we are going to have the first of many lecture demonstration series as LearnQuest annual music festival kicks off today. And I think this couldn't have been an important topic more than tabla today, because if you ask any vocalist, if they have to pick one instrument as an accompanying instrument, I'm sure they always will pick tabla. And I think it's a prominent topic, or a topic of importance for all musicians to really understand how tabla is constructed and how it's maintained. And I'm very glad, Ramanaji, that you're going to show us the details of how to take care of the instrument, but also how it is constructed, because many of us actually are looking forward to that. Some of you may know, but I hope it's a learning experience for many of us too. Little bit of Ramanaji's background. He grew up in Jamshedpur in India in a musical environment. His mother is a Carnatic vocalist. His brother is a sitar player. I think he was surrounded with tabla players in your childhood, and that's how your passion for tabla has picked up. And I think you started this, or acquired the skill of fixing tablas out of necessity. And that's because you didn't have many resources to help you with fine tuning or maintaining tabla. And I think Ramanaji took a lot of effort surrounding himself with various tabla players and mastering his craft by observing and learning from the best. And today he's going to share that all with us. Ramanaji moved to Boston in 1997, and he is an IT professional, but his passion is tabla, and he started helping out local Boston musicians. And the word spread soon. And today, Ramanaji is one of the very finest artisans in North America, helping out musicians throughout the country, fixing and fine tuning different classical instruments like tabla, like khawas, like dolak, like harmonium. And I'm sure that today's session is really going to give a lot of insights to all the music lovers in how to take care of these instruments. And so with that, we really welcome you, and it's your stage now.
Shri Radhe, thank you all for joining. First off, a very, I can't say thank you to brothers, but always, I have brothers in LearnQuest. Hiram has joined our family this year. I'm a very proud member of LearnQuest and, especially interested because everybody, including the founder, Pradeep Shuklaji, is working towards promoting our Indian music, which is very, very important. It's a once a year opportunity that comes, the Spring Festival. And pardon me for any mistakes because I don't read off a script. I just fly off the hip.
That's better.
But encourage all of you to take part in the LearnQuest Music Festival. This year we are blessed with many different volunteers helping me out in conducting this workshop. So raise your hand if you have a question, reach out to one of the volunteers if you wish to know how to take part in the festival, if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, if you're looking for tickets for anything. And as usual, if you're looking to get in touch with me, you can contact me Instagram, Radha Rhythms, or you can contact me through LearnQuest. You go to LearnQuest and take my name, they'll send you to me, any member there. It's very easy. Having said that, let's begin the journey for tabla. So I'm going to break this down into different pieces. We'll talk about each component of the tabla, starting with the materials. Then we'll talk about do's and don'ts in tabla. We'll talk about what to do, what not to do. There'll be a group of you who's interested in maintenance by yourself, including tuning your tablas, including some of the work that is done, what we call as khichi, or pulling the straps of the tabla. This workshop will touch on every point, but it's not enough for you to begin work on your own. I've been working with a few kids from Canada who've evolved into very good artisans of their own right in the Toronto area. I'll take their names so that, if you are joining us from Canada, you can always go to them when you have any work. For those of you who are interested in a deeper learning experience, sitting with me once a week and doing stuff, contact LearnQuest, because once there's enough demand, they will arrange something for you. And I'm always happy to partner with them in any initiative that they start. Once again, if you're interested in learning this art of fixing tablas, I'm open. I'm an open book. I'll teach you everything. There's no secret here. Do not contact me, contact LearnQuest. That's very important because working full time, fixing tablas, fixing harmoniums, fixing other musical instruments with a family and a very active dog, I don't have the time to organize stuff. So I leave the organization to the experts, which is LearnQuest. They're my brothers there, so complete trust in them. We are one. We are not separate. So reach out to them and they'll help you. Having said that, let's move over to the tabla. So the tabla has two components. One is the right hand drum. When I say the right hand drum, it's because I'm assuming most people are right hand players. This is called the dahina in Hindi. Then you have the baya, which is the left hand drum. Okay? These are two. We'll take the left hand drum away and start discussions on the right-hand drum first. The right-hand drum has always been made of wood. There are different classifications of wood. I'm going to spend a little time on talking about wood because running an active shop, I get a lot of queries from customers, and some customers really don't know what they want. They've heard something, so they want something which doesn't really resonate well with what it is that you want to do. Essentially, back in the day, we had two different woods which were used. One is called shisham. The word shisham means rosewood. The nature of rosewood is it's a very dense wood. If you go into Home Depot, you will not find rosewood, but you will find walnut, a dark colored wood, which is dark by nature and it's very dense. For those of you who are more scientific in nature, the quality of sound. So the quality of sound in rosewood is like that of breaking glass. What do I mean by that? It's not a sine curve, it's a peak, a V. So it's a sine curve with a peak. So at that peak, it is a very, very, very sharp sound. So you have your gamut of the Saptaswaras, A to G, the different tonal qualities. When you're buying a deep tabla is, if you're looking at the harmonium, the higher octave in the harmonium. Those are the particular use cases where you would desire that sharpness of sounds, you would go for rosewood. Now, if you were going into the lower octaves, you would choose a larger head, and Bijasar has a sine curve, very well rounded. So what is produced there is a melody, it's not a peak. So instead of having a very sharp sound, you have a very beautiful melodious sound, which is rounded, which is why I'm calling it as a sine curve, as opposed to a peak in that. So there was Bijasar. Bijasar is not available everywhere. Manufacturers, some of them have it. It's not in danger. It's not an endangered species at this time, but not everybody has it. Shisham became an endangered species. The government of India actually started banning the forestation or harvesting of the wood and the export of the wood. However, they said if you have an instrument made of bijasar, of shisham or rosewood, you can take it out of the forest as an instrument, not as a log. So our Indian craftsmen started going into the forest and would roughly shape the instrument with an axe and bring it out, or it was mined illegally. Either way, it came in. So when we get rosewood, it is legal because it's in the form of an instrument. It's not banned as such. But because it was banned, it also the price quotient went up very high. The price quotient went up very, very high. And the artisans had to find a different wood to craft it because not everybody could afford that particular price. On an average, it's about 10 times, just the wood is at least 10 times more expensive than your regular wood that we source. So they started looking for alternative sources. Maharashtra, the forests of Amaroha, they had a dense wood. The wood color was red. It had a reddish hue. This is polish. It's not the actual wood. But it had a hue slightly lighter than this and a reddish hue. So our guys called it Lal Shisham. Lal means the color red. So they said it's red Shisham. The sound on that was beautiful. So if I switch to Hindi for a minute, लकड़ी की जाति होती है. शीशम की एक जाति है, बीजासर की एक जाति है. So as I explained, the character of the wood or jati of the wood is, sharpness, melody. Lal Shisham filled a nice niche because its character had a good blend. It had sharpness and melody. So it suffices every particular use case. Today, most of the artists in the world, they travel. Red Shisham, the black Shisham by nature is very heavy. Bijasar is also very heavy. Nobody wants to carry this with them because of the weight. So red shisham became a very popular wood. Now there is no such wood called red shisham. The local wood of Delhi began to be called as Dilli ki shisham. The local wood of Banaras began to be called as Banaras ki shisham. The only characteristic of the wood is the density of the wood. So when you're buying a tabla, what are you looking for, or what do you want to look for? You want to look for grain in the wood as well as weight. Okay. This is a wood from Banaras, unpolished, unseasoned. You can see sapwood here. I love wood by nature. I love the sapwood showing through. It comes out in two different hues. You can see the redness of the wood, and you can see sapwood in different areas. Most time, and you cannot avoid this always, you want to avoid these knots in the wood. Knots are very dense areas, and if they are somewhere here, it's okay. Okay. Very dense wood. And if I may take the flashlight.
Yeah.
So here I will show you the inside. This is hand carved on the inside, so you can see the carving by hand. I'll put it out here, and you can see the carving by hand. Now, this is also red shisham, and this is carved by a lathe machine, flat on the inside. Okay. Some people, including me, for a personal choice, prefer the hand carved one because we feel that it produces certain overtones which are very desirable. However, both of them produce a beautiful sound. So you don't need to be too hung up on hand carved or lathe machine, because when building things, unless you have extremely sensitive ears, you're not able to pick the difference out.
Okay.
You need the ears of someone like Zakir Hussain to be able to pick the difference out in the tonal quality between the two. It's really very minuscule, and mics may amplify it when you're in a particular place. Now, this wood is what is called as black shisham. You'll see me grimace because these are heavy. And whenever you're taking this, you want to look on the inside. You don't want to look on the outside. Now, black shisham will have a grain. Fortunately or unfortunately, this is polished, so you can't see the grain, but I have an example behind me where you can see the grain. I'm trying my best to cover manufacturers, but I can't in every case. And you can see the beautiful grain of the wood here. It's polished, but you can see the grain. You always want to look for the grain because there are many people who will sell you black shisham, and they may sell you a wood which looks black in color, and you won't know the difference. Even for us, it's very difficult to know the difference. So why do we suggest buying wood from reliable sources? Because as we build the tablas, certain wood, like I said, wood has a character. If you don't have the proper wood, when you build your tabla with that, there is a metallic aftertone that comes out. You want to avoid that metallic tone which comes out. Okay. So having covered the wood, we are going to talk about other characteristics. Height. All our Indian music, most of it, we are playing sitting on the ground, especially when you are in your learning stages. I'm not talking of established artists. 99.9% of my clientele is people who are learning and in the initial stages of learning. Less than 1% of my clientele is artists. Artists know what to do and they can figure out every situation. So this is for the regular people. The height of the tabla is very important. Why is the height very important? Because as you're sitting down, you want to dominate the tabla. If your hand is like this is a poor form. So you'll see most artists, especially if you notice Kumar Bose play, his tabla will be like this, in this angle. There's some artists who play it like this. The bowls on the tabla are played from the top. As you increase your speed, you need to be able to dominate this. If your elbow is bent, your shoulders are bent, you cannot play for an extended period of time.
Right.
So it's very important you choose a right height. Most of these tablas come between 10.5 and 11 inches, and that half inch does make a difference.
Okay.
The standard height of a tabla, the shell itself, is 10.5 to 11 inches. And you can tell that this is a much larger shell. When I put this and this on the side, you can see this is a much larger shell than this. And this is a much smaller shell than both of these. Height is very important. Choose your height wisely. Look for what height will suit you so that you don't get bent over and you have proper form. Because as you increase your proficiency in play, you want to go to speed. If you have a bad form, you're going to get elbow pain, you're going to get wrist pain, you're going to get back pain on one side. And that will dissuade you from playing. So choose your height wisely. The other thing is the thickness. These are unfinished shells. This diameter here needs to be approximately half an inch.
Okay.
If it's more, the sharpness does not come out.
Okay.
If it's less than half an inch, you get the proper sharpness. So when a customer wants a tabla, what we do is we chisel this out and make this half an inch and then build it. The other extreme is a lot of manufacturers, in order to bring out a greater sharpness, are going to make it very thin like this. This is about 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch here. What is the danger here? When you put your head, this is under very high pressure.
Okay.
Under the pressure, this wood will warp. So from a round shape, it becomes an oval shape. If you bring it to me to fix it, I don't have enough room to fix it here anymore because the wood has been eaten away. So you're stuck with an oval shaped tabla your whole life. Which again brings me, what warps the tabla? Unseasoned wood warps the tabla. Wood is harvested in the form of logs. From those larger logs, you say a manufacturer looks at the log and he says, he doesn't buy a tabla, he buys a log of wood. He says, I can make a pakhavaj out of this, I can make a dholak out of this, and what is left, I'm going to make a tabla out of this. When he does that, the wood has been harvested and it's very raw wood. So he takes it to his nearest lathe machine, gets the shape done, and then he puts it inside, not outside, and seasons it for 6 months at least. Today's day and age, you at least want 3 months of seasoned wood. What happens when wood is not seasoned? You make a tabla with unseasoned wood, you'll get cracks all over the tabla. The nature of wood is to crack as it dries. So you want a tabla, if you buy a tabla which is made with unseasoned wood, you'll get cracks. Now as you can see, in any tabla, it's hollow. How hollow should this be? The ideal depth is 5.5 inches. You can go up to 6.5 inches. The minute you go beyond 6.5 inches deep, your regular heads or pudis are not going to sound proper on those. You can get it from the best manufacturer for a lot of money, but they are not going to sound proper on those. We do certain things in the shop when we get such pudis. Such pudis we find in, especially coming from Pakistan. Because most of the Pakistani players are playing for Qawwali and they want high-pitched tablas. And they dig it deep. You can make a puri for those, especially the puri or the head has to be, the leather needs to be thinner, the syahi needs to be lesser. So you have to custom order a puri for those in most cases. And they'll sound okay in certain like bhajan, kirtan, and kavali, but not for classical music. They are not preferred for classical music. You want a richness, you want a depth of the tonal quality, which you don't get when it's dug too deep. The other wood which I did not cover is a wood called mahogany, and I should have some right behind me somewhere, which is from Calcutta. Personally, I don't prefer the mahogany wood. It looks very beautiful, but I don't prefer that wood. And I have one right here. It looks like this. The problem with the wood is the lack of density. And I want to show you, this is a very good case to show you what happens when wood is not seasoned. You can see, Sam, you have a flashlight?
Yes.
You can see the crack here on the head. This is what unseasoned wood will do for you. And it's a pretty deep crack that I need to fix before I actually start working on this. And you can see even the lip here is distorted with, the crack. And the shape of the wood is really bent out of shape, especially in the US, because we have extreme conditions of weather here in the Northeast. High heat and very high cold also. So, these temperatures are going to crack your wood. Why is this wood not preferred? It's very lightweight. The wood is not dense. Say a regular police are not going to work there. So the leather from most places, this is goat skin. So most of the goats are sacrificed in mass, and those skins are harvested and then processed at some facility, and the makers go and buy these processed skins from that particular facility.
Okay.
These are mature goats that you are harvesting actually. The skins of those goats are mature goats. In Calcutta, we have the Kali temple. Baby goats' skins are very readily available there. So the Calcutta skins are thinner in nature.
Thinner. Okay.
The syahi is less. The other thing I'll talk about when we talk about syahi, the glue that is mixed up with the syahi is made in the rest of the world out of all-purpose flour or maida. Calcutta, they use rice flour. They use leftover rice and they use that as a glue to grind it. So Calcutta tablas sound very good in Calcutta. When you get them outside, they're very clean to play. A very beautiful sound. They start buzzing fast. So we try to keep away from this, and we try to keep away from this wood. A lot of people want this wood because it looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
But a tabla is for playing. So while aesthetics are important, more important is the sound. So, I try to keep away from this. I will not make personal suggestions. Again, it's for you to decide. I'll tell you the pros and cons. Then the other thing is what we call as the gattas. They like these yellow colored gattas because they look very beautiful. I hate them. And I'm not mincing any words. There is a function for this. The function is to hold the tonal quality no matter where you put it. They should not slide. These are highly polished ones, very prone to sliding. So they defeat the purpose for which they are built.
Yeah.
They look beautiful, but they defeat the purpose. Unfinished, these ones have good friction. They will hold them in place. These are best. Again, the denser this is, the better it is for you because these are abused. These are hit with a hammer mercilessly. So the denser the wood, the longer it will stay in place. These are very inexpensive though. So
Are they the same type of wood?
this is whatever spare wood is there.
Okay.
And when I get these, I request no wood is wasted. If you look at a log of wood, it's a very good question, by the way. The wood on the outside is less dense. Most of these are made with lesser dense wood because it is cheaper.
Okay.
The core of that log is very dense.
Right.
Those that are made from the core are more expensive.
More expensive.
And manufacturers do not want to waste the core on gattas.
Okay.
This is called a gatta.
Yep.
this double. So they don't want to waste the core on this. So we have to special request these. And, I can show you something which is less dense. Again, unpolished wood. This is a good example. You can't feel it. Here I can indent it with my nail.
Yeah.
It'll still serve a good purpose. But imagine when you're hitting it with your hammer, this is going to dent this wood.
Hmm.
It'll still last you more than 10 years. So you don't need to worry even if you get this. This is a better wood because it's denser. You can't make an indent on this.
Right.
So the preference is for denser wood, but don't go get all hung up in that. Avoid these. Think about function over form,
Yeah.
So that's important. These come in different sizes based on the size of your tabla. You should get an appropriate sized one, right? If it's smaller, you'll get smaller ones. If you're getting a very large tabla of a 7-inch head, you're going to get a larger
Hmm.
one. So we have ones of different sizes. We keep them in stock, which is good. The next part, let's come into the straps. $1 million question. There are people always begging me, why do you not use nylon? We have leather straps and we have nylon straps. Again, I like the function. The function of this strap is to hold the total quality in place.
Hmm.
If that fails, then these straps are no good. So while nylon is a good example, I would not use nylon. I do not use nylon because they do not hold it in place. They get loose. The other things, they don't hold these in place. These start slipping. And if they work good for you, it's good. But we do not use it because we found that when we build those tablas, they come back to us. They say, this is not holding my true quality. I want to play a concert and these are slipping. So you want leather straps. Leather straps come in various qualities. Show you a simple example. The strap should not stretch. The cheapest form of this leather will stretch. Like a rat's tail. It's from a place called Latur. We say, चूहे की पूंछ जैसी है लातुर की वादी. Because खिंच जाती है और फिर वापस आ जाती है, खिंच जाती है. So आपका tone पकड़ के नहीं रखेगा. It won't hold your tonal quality. You want good, nice straps. Very important to remember when you're doing your own work or when you go to a repair person. If somebody takes your tabla and is immersing it in water before pulling it, yes, they do it. Don't go to those people. This takes effort. It takes a lot of strength. For the novice, the strap is so rough, it may cut your hands. I'll tell you what to do. But you don't want it in water. You don't want to treat this with water. What happens when you use water? A lot of people have seen, they'll immerse this in water for a 30-second or 1 minute, pull it out because it makes the strap softer. It's easier to head, easier to pull and everything. What happens when it dries? It becomes brittle. What is wrong with a brittle strap in this cold weather? It'll snap. And the next time you go to tune your tabla, it's going to become tougher to pull. Instead, what you want to do, I've got various products here, right? This is shea butter. I buy it from the Indian store. The best thing. What is good for your hands is good for any leather.
Okay.
So shea butter. Very thick, pure shea butter, very inexpensive, lubricates it. Different people, when they've come to my shop, they've seen me, tablas are old, when I'm pulling it, no matter how much strength I put, sometimes they get stuck because the guy has used water in the initial manufacturing. So they're stuck there. So, I buy these products from TJ Maxx, Marshalls. This is body butter or body cream, right? And it's very simple. Smells good. So when I'm working with people's tablas, they don't get an awful smell. If water hits leather, it smells awful. You smell a dead animal.
Yeah.
When I use these butters, it softens the leather straps and it makes it very easy to work with them. I buy the cheapest product that is on the clearance section in shops like TJ Maxx and Marshalls. In the market, it may be 15 bucks. I buy it for $2 in the clearance section. I don't care about the expiration date because it's going on leather straps. Straps come in a bundle like this. There's two portions to the bundle. You may not be able to see this well. Hiram can see this. This is very thick in the beginning.
Right.
This strap is used to make your dahina. This thickness is good for the dahina. When I pull it out from the other side, it's very thin.
Oh yeah.
And very flexible. This is used to make your baya. The baya has a much larger diameter.
Okay.
These will hold it well in place.
Okay.
Now, you're not seeing certain things here, but the initial portion from this end, from the other end, we cut and we throw out.
Okay.
Like these pieces.
Okay.
They are not fit to be put on anything.
Okay.
If anything, we'll use them to make these bottom rings.
Got it.
Otherwise, we throw it out. You'll see a lot of people coming out with very thin straps on your tabla. They're using all of this.
Okay.
The problem with using this is keeping the tonal quality. The second thing, this is a very old tabla that I'm using that belongs to my son. And my son's been playing tabla from the age of 6. He's 15 now, my younger one. So even at that age, you can see this is not spread too much.
Okay.
In some cases, you will see people pulling the tablas to tune them. One side will be in Timbuktu, the other side will be in the UK. What happens when you pull your tabla in that manner is it doesn't hold its tone. Slight distortion over a period of time is good, but a large distortion here is not going to help in holding an even tone. So when we rehead, as a rule, I always mandate that we make a new ring here, and I'll show you today how to make rings. You make a new ring here, and we put it out just so that it holds its tune in place. When we manufacture it, there is no gap anywhere. Over a period of time, over 5 to 10 years, you'll have a slight distortion, but not too much. If there is a large distortion, that's not desirable. Other thing, this is a good example of a distortion. If you guys can see, this is not a large distortion. This is acceptable.
Gaps here.
Yeah. This is acceptable, but anything larger than this is not acceptable. Again, when you're playing tabla, there are a lot of people that I meet who have sweaty hands. Today, talcum powder is banned in the USA because of one crazy person filing a lawsuit on Johnson & Johnson saying they got cancer because of talcum powder.
Yeah.
So when your hands sweat, this is made out of a rudimentary glue, like I said, made of all-purpose flour and mixed with iron filings. We'll make a little bit, show you how to do that. Shortcut method to make that, right? So when your hand, if any water touches this, this starts to seep. This is a tabla that is coming for repair from a guy with sweaty hands. And you can see it spread all over the place. So one of the things very important when you're playing tabla, more important than talcum powder, is keeping a towel next to you. Wipe your hands. Don't reach for the powder yet. Wipe your hands. You ideally want to reach for powder when this produces a squeaky sound. At that time, when you take powder, you want to take powder, put it like this, and then play. This is practice. You can't do this in a concert, in a live concert. So you'll notice most people are noticing different artists. They're playing their maya and they are putting this, emptying this powder on that, or they're putting this here. That is for ease of use when they are playing.
Okay.
In a stage, it's different from in your house. And I've then seen students who are taking that to an extreme level. Even before playing for 15 minutes, this is caked in powder. What happens when powder and sweat mix? The sound stops. Why? I cannot show this to you unless I have a magnifying glass or a microscope and I put that in front of the camera there. But when you look at your syahi, it's made of particles of say a millimeter or so. And here I can look at this closely, and it's made of particles. The gap between those particles is responsible for the sound. It's very important. The sound is dampened and produced at a particular frequency because of the gap between these particles. So when you have sweat and cornstarch, which is what you get in today's market, mixed together, you are blocking all these holes.
Okay.
When you block these holes, you are blocking the sound coming out from the tabla. I still, for my son and for certain people, I do buy the talc powder. If you don't want to use Pond's Dream Flower because it is too girly, you still get, the old baby powder made out of talc in certain Indian stores. You can go and use it there. I would still advocate the use of talc over cornstarch because it comes off easily. What to do if you have too much of powder here? Because you are a performing artist, whether you're performing in bhajan, kirtan, kawali or on stage, and you get a lot of powder here. Take Scotch Brite and a light hand, a very, very light hand. Taking a new piece of Scotch Brite, and you take this and rub it. Circular motion. Don't press. Very light hand. And then when you hit, it falls on the ground. All that powder comes off and it goes onto the ground. And that way you can open up your tabla again. I would not suggest anything more than this. You may, if you come to the shop, you may have seen me using knives, blades, whatever I get on hand, or even a chisel to get the powder out. Don't try those because you'll ruin your tabla. Our hands are used to working with various instruments. So once you acquire a skill level, you can do those things. Or like somebody else told me that, they use a credit card to gently get it out. Old credit card, and that would do. The other thing is, if this is spread here, you can use sandpaper. Try to use anything above a 400 grit sandpaper. This is a 40 or a 60 grit sandpaper. It's the closest thing on hand, which is why I'm using it. This place you want to clean up, you can use sandpaper here. Don't use water at all on the daina.
Got it.
It's very important not to use any liquid or water on this. You want to work on it dry. And when you work on it dry, you can see it's cleaning this up very easily without any effort. And again, you always use a light hand. Don't use a heavy hand. When you do this, it cleans up your thing. And you can use the same thing on the maya as well to clean up any portions here. Now, you may want your maya in a very pristine white condition. Some people have said, there's a mark here. Well, it's leather. It will have natural marks.
Yeah.
Unless certain chemicals are used to synthetically clean it, even then certain marks may not go out. So if you want a very pristine one, you're in the wrong business. You should become an artist, not play tabla. Because it's leather and leather will naturally have marks. So those marks, some of them won't go away. Now this is a very well-used tabla used for many years. You can see it's very clean. Because at least, still the powder ethics in my son, and this belongs to my son, so I can see he's doing a good job following through on that, right? And it's got a nice ring. This is what people, I'm using a very light hand. It's a very nice ring.
Yeah.
And you're doing this. So we've covered the wood, we've covered the straps, we've covered the dowels. I'll show you how to make a ring in a very easy way. And I'm looking, no, I have lots of leather here. Different ways to make this. Okay? Different ways to make this. I'm going to use whatever tool is next to my hand right now. So this is a leather strap that you have, and I'm moving everything out from here. This is a leather strap that you have. I'm using a dollar store chisel, demo chisel, right? They use this. This is the cheapest chisel that money can buy, which we get in Harbor Freight Tools or someplace for very little money. These particular ones I bought in a yard sale. I got 4 of them for $1. So anything, we sharpen these. It's important for this piece to be sharp, right? And you separate a certain distance, this much. Now, you may not have a piece of wood at home like I do. In that case, what you do is, this is solid up to here. So you can do the same thing on the top of this. It won't affect the playability, quality, or the sound or anything. So we work a lot, so I've got some pieces of wood here. So I'm going to use a spare piece of wood. I'm going to keep it here. My leg is going to hold it in place, and approximately an inch is what I leave. And I put this here, the chisel, and I use my trusted hammer. This hammer is about 20-25 years old, worn out. I love it. And for God's sake, don't use these hammers that I use, these big hammers. I mean, don't go into a hardware store and buy a sledgehammer for your tabla. Not needed. We need heavier hammers for the work that we do. You don't need it. Let's talk about the tools. This is not a screwdriver. It's called a manori in Hindi. We get these manufactured. If any of you are interested, again, reach out to me on Instagram, and I can give these. You don't need these unless you're a manufacturer. A regular screwdriver would do. A screwdriver like this would do for you. Unless you're working a lot with tablas, you don't need this. We get these made. These are not available in the market to purchase. This side, I can do it with this, but I want to show you what I do. It's a square end, and I have my trusted Titan scissors. This is a brand called Titan. I love this because this cuts leather like it's butter. You can shave this with a knife in order to have it pass through this hole. I just cut it out and make it like the point of a pencil. And I'm just going to do a little bit. And you'll know why this is a Titan scissor, because it cuts thick leather like it's butter. So I take my manori, I expand this hole that I just made. I put this in. And you can see here what has been done. Bring this down. How much will you bring this down? As much as this width is. This width is important. So do this. Traditionally, all manufacturers go 3 rounds. I go 4 to 5 rounds. I like that to be very robust and not be flexible, so that, it lasts for a longer time. So 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds. 4 rounds. There are many ways to make this. This is just one of the many ways that I'm showing you, that is very simple, that you can do in under 10 minutes if you're a beginner, in under a minute if you are good at it. There's some aesthetics to look at. If I reverse this and put it like this, I want to show the camera. This thing is pointing up. Always have this pointing down so that when you put your tabla, it's not sticking out at you and doesn't poke you. Even if it points up, there's no problem, but putting it down is easy. Similarly, if I do my hole from here, if I do my knot from here, it's going to come out and stick out. You don't want that. So I'm going to go under here. Okay, the knot is important. So you go under here And then this is very stiff because this is new leather. And watch, I'm not using any water, I'm not using anything. I'm taking out my trusted linesman pliers and I tighten this knot. You want it more tight, just hold it with your leg and pull, and it's a tight knot. You got this ring. Now, I'm going to remake this ring if I were doing this tabla, because you can see this gap here, this much. You don't want that much gap. You want to leave about 1/16 of an inch gap. That gap is enough for the wadi to get through
Okay.
when you're making this. So, what are the tools that we use? The manori, a linesman plier, this chisel. If I'm cutting leather or the chatti cutting, we use a handmade chisel. This is called a rapi. Again, we get these made and we sharpen this. A rapi, a needle nose plier, a hook for pulling, very important. I have different hooks which I'll show you later. This is my most trusted one. What happens when you're pulling is you don't need a hook for the strength, and this is the case where most people distort this by using the hook to pull. You're not using your hook to pull. You can even use this without a hook. If you look at the underside of this one, your finger won't go in. So when you're looking to pull this, somehow this needs to be pried a little bit on the top. So all you need to do is have a tool that will do this for you. Now when you lift this up, your finger goes inside and you can pull. The hook serves a useful purpose in saving us time there, because this goes in very easily.
Right.
And without breaking a heartbeat, I can pull.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling using this. This is in my right hand. My left hand is doing the pulling actually. Why is it important not to use a hook to pull? Because whenever you're pulling, based on the sound, the tabla needs to be equibalanced. So it's not, let's use Herculean strength to pull this. You will distort this ring when you do that. It has to be a balanced pull. So certain areas need to be pulled more, certain areas need to be pulled less. That feel only comes on your hand. It does not come if you wear gloves. I've seen YouTube videos advocating the use of gloves. Don't use it because your hand is not feeling anything.
Right.
Some people are saying I'm cutting the fingers of the gloves. It's still not giving you that proper feel. Use a cloth. If you are a do-it-yourselfer and you're pulling and this is cutting into your hand, if I'm doing 25 tablas, at the end of the day, even my hand starts to feel like something's digging into it. So all we do is we always have a rag next to us. So we hold this strap with the rag. So it's not digging into my hand. Don't use gloves. I mean, ultimately you can do what you want to do. That's an advice of not to use gloves or not to go in if you're beginning and you want to get into this to service your own tablas or even start a business, learn how to do this, go and don't get into the habit of using gloves. That destroys things.
Right.
This is very tough. What do? You use one of these creams that I showed you on this. It'll soften it up a little bit. Don't use it all over, use it where needed. If I'm reusing gold wadi, at that time, the other way to make the leather very malleable, I have this. Typically, when we sit down to work, we don't like to get up, so we use whatever tool we have. So I take this and I hold this between my feet. I hope you can see. I want to straighten this out, right? It's kinks and everything. So I'm just going to do this.
Okay.
Showing you ways you can get away with doing what you have. Now, if you had a chair in front of you with a metal leg, don't do it to your father's favorite wooden chair and spoil the polish on that. He'll kick you. You'll get a timeout. You can see I've taken a wadi that was rounded and in no time at all, I made this straight now because, especially when you're dealing with this and dealing with kinks, becomes very easy to deal with a straight piece instead of something that is completely rounded. You want to make it round, you get it back, and it'll become round again. You want to straighten it out, straighten it out. I'm showing you a few things that you can do when you're at home, when you're working with your tablas. How are we doing so far? I'll take a brief pause and wait for any questions. You can show hands, you can ask questions to the moderator. I cannot hear you. So if you ask questions, the moderator will convey those, and I think they've enabled me to be able to hear questions. So if anybody has any questions, we'll take a 10-second pause and I'll let you ask questions.
Actually, I have a question here.
Sure.
Regarding the seasoning of the wood, is this air dry, sun dry?
Nothing, it's just air dry.
Air dry.
You don't want to expose the wood into sun.
Okay.
So it's just air dried. You will see in the shop there's many pieces of wood, some of them drying for over a year. When the wood cracks, we fill it out. People are worried. I want an unpolished tabla. Why do you want an unpolished tabla? So that there's no cracks. Chief, wood's nature is to crack. Let it crack. Let it settle down. We fix it, we polish it. After that, the cracks will minimize. Once your wood is seasoned, you want seasoned wood that has been fixed by us. And then the polish serves two important things. It's not to hide any cracks that we've fixed in. This is a wood that has no cracks in it. Fortunate. It's been dried, it's perfect. This is rare. I will tell you, out of every 100 tablas that are pumped out of India, 99 of them have cracks that have been filled up by the manufacturer.
Okay.
However, if you're getting an unseasoned piece of wood, it's going to crack again after it comes to you.
Right.
So you really want the wood to be seasoned. We get our wood here, we season it for 1 year, 2 years, and we let the customer pick what wood he wants in a lot of cases. And we say, we'll build one out of this for you. Okay.
So there's a question. This person is saying, we have a tabla bought online, and my son recently started learning just a month ago in class. The sound of Daya is not even close to what you're showing. So,
I'll tell you. So it's very tempting and it's a common fallacy, like buying online. I would advocate against it for a very simple reason. I mean, uh, with my full-time work, I did not need this money. Actually, I'm in the red by opening the shop, not in the green. Okay. This started out as a service, remains a service. We charge certain prices because we need to keep this alive, you know. There's a couple of tens of thousands of dollars that we spend every year to get materials. So, having said that, and you don't need to buy from me. Market is a very open place. I'm very openly telling you guys, you can buy from wherever you like. I'm giving you advice on what to buy and what not to buy. There are certain brands, and I won't take any brand name because it's not my intention to put anybody down. There are certain brands. Let's take, a very popular online store where everybody buys everything from groceries to things, and you have same day delivery, right? You go there, and harmoniums, tablas, everything's are sold there. Who is supplying and selling on that store? Amazon charges a huge cut.
Mm-hmm.
So they are local people in India. What they're using is they're using mango wood, whatever wood comes to their hand. What is the problem with mango wood or neem? Neem is a very beautiful wood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Seasoned, it's prone to cracking. It's very prone to cracking. Then there's fancy woods like khair. खैर का तबला बना लीजिए सर वो तुम खैर रखे हो तो हम क्यों खैर रखे मेरी खैरियत लाल शीशम में सस्ता सुविस्ता सबसे बढ़िया right? Manufacturers will try to sell you what they have. You have to make a choice. In these online brands, you don't even know what wood you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a lot of wastage in the wadi if you're an ethical manufacturer. Because when this wadi is manufactured, if it's defective in certain cases, we throw whole bundles out.
Okay.
I get this in gunny sacks. Each gunny sack has approximately 10 bundles. Every container I get about 20 gunny sacks of this. And we go through that. We go through a lot of this wadi. Very important for me, should not have any cracks, should have uniformity in the diameter and things, right? And it should be a single piece from one end to the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Every knot, 2 knots are minimum mandated. Every knot is a weak point.
Yeah.
So you can't tighten the knots as well as you can tighten these areas. So if you have 3 pieces of strap, you're going to have 6 knots there. Now your tabla is not going to hold its balance.
Right.
The only time I tolerate a knot is if a performing artist tabla breaks on stage, knot it. Because you need it for the concert.
Just in time fix.
Just emergency use.
Yeah.
Otherwise, get a fresh, complete one so that it holds its tonal quality in place. These manufacturers, a lot of these come to me for repair. You'll see they have 6 knots. They have used the cheapest quality of wadi and knotted differently. The other thing, head manufacturer, very important. What predicates the price of a head? The labor of love. I'm covering, and I'll only talk about 1 or 2 manufacturers, otherwise I won't take any names. This is a very well-known manufacturer. Again, I'm not going to take name here. Between this and this, how many of you can make the difference out? Both are very well-known manufacturers, but you can't make much of a difference out here looking at it, especially if you're a novice for a beginner player. This head, this needs to be very uniform. This is called the gajara. If it's not uniform, you'll get up and downs. There are people who tell me, Bhaiya, this tabla has this down and this up. Guess what? Even this gajra has knots. Every gajra will have a knot. I'm not going to show you the back side. I'm going to show you the knot here if you can see this. Wherever there is a knot, this is going to go high.
Right.
So you'll have 2 points that are low, you'll have 2 points that are high. This is going to be slightly not uniform. If this is not made properly, it will be up and down. The uniformity of sound won't be there. That's the first thing to notice in a cheaper manufactured gajra. The second thing is syahi. I've traveled all around India. In Banaras, there are huts. People who are learning to make tabla start apprenticeship in those huts. There are about 20 people in the heat of Banaras sitting in that hut. Each guy manufactures 40 of these heads a day.
Wow.
The minute a sound comes, done. Take it out. They're not concerned about quality. Let's talk about Vatkar. A single head is taking about 2 to 3 days for him to manufacture. So there is your cost. Everybody has an EMI to fill. The owner of that hut has 20 labor making 40 pudis a day, which you can buy those pudis. We call them as chalu pudis. You can buy those for 500 to 700 rupees. Those are what is used in your head. Now, when you expect these sounds to come from those heads, in the rare case it is possible. Life is a lottery. You may win the lottery on that one, but more likely than not, you're going to get something that has gone wrong. Now, in a specific case, if your head is not balanced, even if the best manufacturer made it, if your head is not balanced in terms of tonal quality, we'll discuss balancing, then you'll get that weak sound. So the first thing for the lady who asked that question is, take it to a person who knows how to play the tabla. Have him balance or tune your tabla using a hammer. If the sound does not improve, you may have to change this head. There's nothing else that can be done at that particular point of time. So change your head. It's not easy. It's not inexpensive in the USA. It is expensive in the US. So, but if you want sound, you need to replace that. And I say beginners need good quality sound. Tabla is very difficult art to learn. By the time this basic stroke that I'm playing, to get the beauty in this stroke, called the na or the ta, it takes about 6 months for your muscles to have that memory to get this sound out. And I'm not using any strength to get this sound. And my sound is very horrible, by the way. You listen to artists, it'll, make you cry. It's so beautiful, that sound from their hands. Countless hours of practice. So to get this sound for a beginner, it'll take more than 6 months. What is motivating your child to play the tabla if you don't give him a cheaply bought? People come to me, I want a beginner's tabla. What is a beginner's tabla? There's no such thing as a beginner's tabla. Come to me and tell me you want a cheap tabla, damn it. Don't tell me a beginner's tabla. Tablas are not professional tablas and beginners tablas and dancing tablas and so on and so forth. It's either a good sounding tabla or you have a cheap tabla. So if you buy something in the aftermarket with nothing but the price in mind, and you're not listening to the sound quality, which you cannot in an online store, unless you're on the phone with them and you're talking to them and then buying it after listening to the sound, you are going to have certain things which are not desirable. Now, the tabla is not even making this sound. You expect your child to practice an hour every day with no sound like this, sound coming like this, and then learn the tabla. It's a tough act. So I always say that beginners should have the best tablas because the sound is what encourages. Mama, I got the sound. I want to play more. You give them a crappy piece, they won't want to practice. Once the initial sound comes out, I'll tell you what I did with my son. I started using used puris for him because I wanted to build hand strength. Giving him a tabla which produces a beautiful sound upon touching it is not going to build hand strength. So in the intermediate phase, after the first, I want to say 1.5 years of learning, I started putting on used puris for him. So that in order to bring a sound out, you will have to use strength. That builds the finger strength. The other thing is tonal quality. Any sound in the higher octave above a C produces a naturally beautiful tone. My son learns from Sandeep Das ji, and Sandeep Das ji was very particular. You shall not play a tabla above B. Restrict yourself between the scales of A and B. Otherwise, I will not even teach you. He teaches old school style, by the way. What that does is, it forces the student to play harder to get that quality of sound. When the sound is very sharp, C and above, it naturally sounds very bright. When it's below the frequency of C, the sound will not be that bright. So in order to get that good quality sound, you're forced to play harder because you want to build the finger strength when playing.
Right.
So again, different teachers teach in different patterns, and I will not question their judgment or style, but if you're asking me, my suggestion is beginners, students, buy a tabla, A, B, even a C is doable, but not above that. Don't buy C sharp and D tablas for beginners. It's ruining their habits. It's not building strength in the fingers to get certain things. But again, your teacher may insist you want a C sharp, get a C sharp, but buy it from a reputable place. Listen to the instrument before you buy it. Do a video call. Today it's the day of technology. Do a Skype call, video call, WhatsApp video call. Listen to what you're buying before you buy it.
Okay. So there are a couple of questions. Are you going to show the basics of tuning the tabla? I can
Yes.
answer that. Yes, that is
Yes, we
happening
will.
for sure. Just hold on, it's coming. And then there is one from Gurveer Sidana, and that is Ramana ji. What size and scale tabla would you recommend for a student or beginner? Which I think you kind of answered in a little
Okay,
bit.
so Gurveer, one of the persons who's been working with me learning this art, and he's done a beautiful job. He's very young right now. I won't disclose his age in case he doesn't want to be known. He's in Toronto, Canada, and Gurveer is a very good friend of mine We've built a very budding friendship. We have a very large age gap. He's old enough to be my son. My elder son and him are of the same age, but he's very interested and a very serious student, and he's asked the right question. So those of you, you can reach out to Gurveer. You can find him on my Instagram handle, or you can look here right now when he's joined, and you can get that. So Gurveer, hello. That's also a very important question. You don't want shorter diameter tablas when learning. You want, today I would say something between a 5.75 to 6 for a beginner. Why? If your fingers are constricted when you're playing, does it help?
No.
So I see this is a, where is that little piece? This is a 5-inch tabla.
Yeah.
These heads, it's not easy to play these. No, your fingers get constricted completely. You want your fingers not to be spread out like this, but they want to be loose.
Right.
So 5.75 to a 6-inch head is very ideal. For the first 6 years, I didn't allow my son to play anything below a 6-inch. After 6 years, the punishment got tougher. He started playing 6.25, 6.5, and 7-inch tablas.
Okay.
Now I can give him anything and he'll play it. He doesn't like playing the smaller ones anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. But the constriction of the hands, so ideally you want a larger head. The larger the better, because it makes you get good strength also. When you play anything above a 6-inch, you need strength to play that.
Right.
Quickly talk about the puris also here. There are two different ways to manufacture this. Now, the genesis of making this, good manufacturers have always been born where they are good artists.
Correct.
Akbar Mia in Hyderabad is a very famous manufacturer. I said, if I talk about, if I take a name, it will be only for good. Nothing negative about anybody in this forum. Akbar Mia is a very well-known manufacturer. What made Akbar Mia great, in my opinion, is Sheikh Dawood, one of the great tabla players of his time. That association. In Banaras, you had Kishan Maharaj, you had Gudai Maharaj, you had different players, you know, the Sahai family, Sharda Sahai ji, Anokhe Lal ji. All these artists, you had two very great tabla manufacturers there, Shamsuddin and Bashiruddin. Now, most of the artists you will notice, a lot of them, are on the side of Maharashtra, on the west coast. To name a few, you have Pandit Talwalkar, you have Yogesh Samsiji. So you have many great artists on the west coast. What did that do? It brought about very good manufacturers in Maharashtra, primarily in Bombay and in Pune. So wherever you have good artists, you'll see that you'll see good manufacturer's name go in there. You can go to any manufacturer, get your tabla manufactured. They'll all make good quality tablas. There's certain things you want to know. I'll try to show two side by side so you can see the difference. Syahi is always applied in layers. This thickness of this syahi is about 2 to 3 times the thickness of this syahi.
Okay.
This thickness. It's difficult to see on the camera, so you have to trust me for what I'm telling you. This skin is thinner, has some play to it. This skin is thicker. This syahi is not preferred for the tabla. Why? There's still manufacturers making this, and some of people feel that the larger syahi is good for them. Syahi is very cheap. All of this is maida and iron filings. I mean, how much extra are you going to put here? 10 rupees, not even dollars, if that. Okay. So the thing is, this inflexibility, it'll still sound good, makes it difficult to play. Under what circumstance? The argument will be made. There are some manufacturers who are manufacturing this inflexible puri with a great amount of syahi, and they still sound good. When you play for 2 hours, 3 hours, you want the touch feeling, the light feeling. to have complete control over it. The feedback should be good. Your wrist will start to hurt. Your elbow will start to hurt when you play for an extended period of time. There is, to make Siai for this level, and I'll tell you, the genesis of these puris came from a very great artist, Pandit Suresh Talwalkarji in Pune. Like I said, most manufacturers learn the art of tuning from artists because they make a tabla, the artist goes and sits in the shop and he says, put adagola here, take adagola out. Pandit Suresh Talwalkar ji only plays tablas that are larger than 6¼ inch in diameter. Those need a thicker skin and higher puri. When the manufacturers learned from that, they translated that to all the tablas with this. Again, the sound is good, but over a period of time, your hand will start to ache. So the preference is for a slight amount of flexibility and an adequate amount of siahi. And I'm giving you very ideal situations. I'm not saying you should not buy this. I'm not saying you should not buy this. I'm talking of ideal situations. Decent amount of siahi, about 14 to 15 layers of siahi. This is applied in layers. In each layer, the ratio of the iron filings to the glue varies when this is made. Slight flexibility, these will give you a very bright sound. What is desirable in the tabla is what we call khula, not band. Sustain is important, but sustain comes after an open sound.
Got it.
Not before an open sound. So sustain on a band sound is not important. A sustain on an open sound is important.
Right.
So you want to go into that, and I'll show you tuning of a tabla. I want to take a badly tuned tabla. Beautiful. And you can hear different tonal qualities. The first thing in tabla is not to use a meter, it is to use your ear. So this sound, you heard it. Vocalize that sound in your head. Now keep that sound as a reference in your head. Look at the sound in a different area. What happens in the middle? I'm picking these two on purpose. I want to show you when you have high and low, between this high and low, the center one is going to be flat. You never want to tune the center one. The first rule of tuning is identify the high, identify the low. Now you have two choices. If this is not very tight, we try to take it high. So I'm going to put this. Now the center one, I don't have to tune. No matter how much you tune this, you can never tune this. So identify your highs and lows. Don't tune the one which is flat.
Got it.
No sound coming. You go around, and if you tune half a tabla, diametrically opposite tablas which are well made have the same frequency. So you don't need to tune the entire tabla. You only need to tune half. 8 houses, 32 pieces of strap coming up and down. Each house is made up of 4 straps. So you have 32 pieces. The count of this is very precise when they're making it. On a dahina, the strap goes in after 1, 2, 3, after every 3. On a baya, it goes in after every 4. It's a very precise way. It's not random, the number of holes that you see on the gajra. It's a very precise calculation. So you have one starting the first knot, and there are 2 ways to do this. If you're going this way, is this for you, is this clockwise or anti-clockwise?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. If you're going clockwise, it's the regular style that the whole verse goes in. If you're from Calcutta, you go anti-clockwise. So if you're going clockwise, This becomes your first knot, this becomes your last knot. Okay. Clockwise, count 4 straps, 1 house. 4 straps, next house.
Yeah.
So when you take this out, and I'll try to operate like this. See, this one is over and this one is under.
Yep.
In the sense that this is coming from the top and this is coming from the bottom.
Yeah.
Whenever you can put your peg in any one of these 4 straps, don't trust anything that anybody tells you. It doesn't matter where you put it. Why do we put it on the second one? Because this is going under.
Under.
So when we pull that one, we are engaging in a larger pull on this gajra. So the first strap you always put in like this. Now, if this was too tight, this is not too tight because I took it out. But if this was too tight, what would you do? Take this, leverage it, and put it out.
Put it in.
Second one goes in very easily.
Right.
The third one, when you want to tune, is this over. So you start with the second one, go to the next one, which is going to be over.
Yeah.
You started with under, which is over. The third one again, you can put this strap up.
Yep.
Very easy. It's not as easy. Lastly, you'll put this strap up. You'll have to work on it to get to certain level of speed in order to do this. But, you know, you can then put this strap up. So when you're tuning, what are you doing? You are just taking first things first. I tell people not to hit the gajra when they're learning how to tune, because the more force that you apply here, you'll start to rattle the particles. It'll start buzzing. We'll talk about buzzing and its fixes also. You want to hit the pegs. We'll cover that again right now. Okay, let's see. I hope, Raviji, I'll trust you that people can hear the sound quality difference, that high, low. So I'm going to take the low and I'm going to hit this down. It's not going up right now.
Still flat. Yeah. Better.
So what I'm going to do, now if this cannot go down any further, you start hitting here. Now I've come to a certain point where hitting here is not bringing this up anymore. I can go to 3 straps. I will not go to 3 straps. I'll show you the other way to do it. I'm going to bring this peg out, up, and listen. And I'm going to hit the gajra on the reverse. So balanced, the high I've taken it down and I've brought it low. So these two are balanced. Any questions on the balancing? Now again, those of you who want to learn it in a very detailed way, I'm happy to teach it. You need to contact LearnQuest. Remember that name, very important. So contact LearnQuest. We'll conduct in-person sessions for those of you who are interested. You know, we'll work something out where, you know, if you come to me, I don't have the time, A, and secondly, I don't have the resources to organize all of this.
Yeah. That's exactly the question.
What if your ears aren't good enough to pick up the pitches?
Use a meter. This is a Korg meter, and you can do it. A, as a tabla player, you should start training your ears. And how you train your ears is by vocalizing the sound. Sa, sa.
Right.
Anybody knows these two, which is high and which is low.
Correct.
So when you're playing, you have to vocalize this. You have to vocalize that sound that you're getting. Tun, tun. And then, if it's a low, what is that low? Tun, tun. When you vocalize that sound in your head, only then will you start getting to hear the difference between the sounds. The minuscule training you can do by a meter. You should not start by looking at a meter and randomly beating your tabla. That's a bad thing to do. That's really a very bad thing to do. Your bass tuning should be based off of hearing. You should build your hearing and then start to wield a hammer. Hammers, speaking of hammers, I'll cover. There are multiple types of hammers. None of you want to buy a sledgehammer. Don't buy the cheap hammers. These are what we give out with our sets for free. Okay, this weighs about 150 grams. These are what we sell for those who want to buy. This can be steel, this is brass. Okay, we manufactured this with a hook because the Banaras buyers use this thing which is important to pull the hooks, and we manufactured it under Sandeep Das's name. Okay, so but this is 600 grams, this is 150 grams. Why do I say don't use this? This is metal, this is metal. This can tune, this can tune. When you're tuning a light hammer, you need to really increase the distance to get power.
Yeah.
A heavy hammer, very precisely. Again, when you're hitting the gajra, I see a lot of tablas come to me with the pudi cracked, because instead of here, they've hit here. That comes when you're trying to bang this from here.
Right.
You won't have the precision. Here, a light stroke, as opposed to this stroke, where you can go wrong.
Correct.
So buy a heavy hammer, 500, 600 grams, and tuning will become easier for you. You'll get greater precision. Any other questions on that?
Should you tune your tabla every day?
You should.
Yeah.
So one of the things to note, tabla, the tonal quality goes down in winter and gets up in summer. In other words, this pudi gets tight in the summer and goes down in the winter. When we pull a tabla for somebody, we are putting it on one strap. This is made more by proficient players, this mistake, than other people. They say, I want it on two straps. They force it on two straps. What this happens is, this makes it very tight. In the summer month, in a day or two, they'll come to me. Ramnaji, we didn't do anything. The head cracked. It will crack. Don't store a very tight head. Take the pegs up after playing. Every day, bring it down. Especially if you are a novice player, tuning your tabla on a daily basis makes you very proficient at it. So bring the pegs down to a light tuning and start playing. The more you tune a tabla, the better you become at it. You'll very soon tune a tabla with very few strokes because you know exactly where to hit and what to do in order to tune the tabla. So, you know, especially in the summer months, do not make this very tight. Bring the pegs up slightly, and you don't need to bring them all the way up. A slight relaxation in this, no pressure on the head, and it won't crack. It's adaptable to certain temperature changes. Any other questions there?
How much can you change the scale of your tabla?
You do not want to change more than half a scale.
Okay.
So C can go down to a, you know, I want to say if there was a B plus, there is no such thing as a B sharp, but if there was a B sharp, you would go down to a B sharp. That scale does not exist, but a C can go up to a C sharp. You don't want more flexibility than that. You can engage certain tabla makers, especially if you take Manoj Vatkar. His tablas, Haridas Vatkar, they'll sound good in two whole scales up or down, but you don't want to do that because it's made for a particular scale. You want to stick as close to that scale as possible. The flexibility is there, you don't want to abuse it because that will destroy your pudi.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Okay, we'll move on to the baya. So the baya now, you have different styles of baya, two very good styles of baya. This baya belongs to...
One before we go forward, Anvi Khatri says, what are the steps for tuning your tabla? So I think you kind of went through it, right?
Yes.
You start from the two,
Yeah.
the
The
high
steps
and
to
the
tune
low.
the tabla, I'll recount that again. Anvi, for folks who are listening, I love her to death like a daughter. She's a student of Amit Kavtekar ji and she plays tabla badass style. really bad style. A little girl whooping it out on the tabla. It's a joy to see her play the tabla. Hi, Anvi, and welcome in. But the steps to tune your tabla: first, identify the highest and the lowest point on your tabla. It's very important, even before you pick a tabla, to play the tabla and to identify the high and the low points on the tabla. Okay. Once you've identified the high point, look at the scale where you want it. Do you want to bring the high down or do you want to bring the low up? Depending on what scale you want your tabla in. If you want it up, bring the lowest point up as much as it will go. After that, bring your high point down. Conversely, you want the tabla to come down, start from your highest and start bringing it low. Tune half your tabla, the entire tabla is tuned.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Maya,
Thank you.
this tabla belongs to one of our local artists whom we are very proud of, Amit Kavtekarji. And I'm going to replace that, okay? So you can see how tight the skin is. You're getting a good sound here.
Yeah.
The Siai is gone, right? So he wants me to replace it, but still, the different style of modulating your tabla, right? Depending on pressure on the wrist or moving your thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you went to Godai Maharaj Ji, instead of most tabla players will play the higher side because they have more space to modulate here. This is not in the center for a Maya. It's slightly offset away from the center. So you have more place here. So you'll place your wrist here and you'll hit this. Never try to scratch this with your wrist because you'll ruin the syahi.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll modulate. I won't teach you how to play. That is for the artists. Okay. But I'm just saying there's, modulating by pressure, modulating by moving your hand back and forth. There are different styles of modulating. Depending on that, you will want an ideal thickness of the putty. You don't want it very thick. You don't want it very thin. But this one, they prefer tight. Banaras is the polar opposite. They don't want it tight. This is a Banaras tabla for you, not made with wadi. It is made with rope. And you can see rings here. When you move the rings up, it gets it's tuned to a higher octave, which is why we've given a hook on the hammers for the Banaras tablas to move these rings up. If you can watch me. And now I moved a few rings up, but this is so loose that even I can't play it. However, the Banaras players relish this. They're born to play this. The strength with which they modulate this, the beauty in their modulation, it's just amazing. It's a different style of playing. You'll appreciate that Abbaji style of playing, the Farrukhabad Gharana. You have different Gharanas, the Lucknow Gharana, Ajarada Gharana, and the Banaras Gharana. They make the Maya sing. A lot of players can't even make this Maya sing. These putties are lower, are thinner, meant to resonate at a very low frequency. I want to say not even 99 out of 100. Out of 1,000, one guy can play this Maya. That's the Banaras player. These are made specially for Banaras. Now, everybody, whether it's tight or low, typically you don't want your Maya to be at a very high pitch. You want it to be at a lower frequency. Very important frequency. Question I get asked: should the frequency of the Maya match the frequency of the Dahina? No. This is not a woman's dress or a salwar kameez where you're trying to match the colors and shape and things. Maya should always be low. This is at a fixed frequency. This is not. It should be low. The beauty is in that diversity of having a low Maya and having a perfectly tuned Dahina. That's the beauty in that diversity of tabla play. You never want to tune this to a standard frequency. All you're doing is making sure it's equituned and that it's playing at a low frequency. You have different metals used in this. Earlier days, very early days, I didn't take it out today because I forgot. This used to be made out of clay. Clay has the best acoustics ever. I remember when I was young, we didn't have a lot of money. we'd listen to music on the radio, but we'd connect a speaker to the
the
radio.
radio.
We'd weld a speaker,
Yeah.
a very cheap speaker to the radio, but we wanted good sound, and we couldn't afford both speakers. So we'd take a matka made out of clay and put it on that speaker, and it amplified the sound and gave us a beautiful sound. Same sound carries with clay, so the initial of these was made with clay. Slowly they started moving into metal. There are different metals used in the construction. This is copper. You want to shine a light inside so that people can see. This is copper.
Yep.
Copper, they say, has good acoustics. Most people prefer copper. Most expensive. Very important, note the thickness of this rim. This metal has to be bent here, so there is a rod inside to bend this metal like this. Try to avoid buying these from Calcutta. I don't mean to bash Calcutta, guys. I apologize. I'm very sorry. There is a way in which they make this, where they make this ring very thick. That destroys the playability of this. I'll show you what happens there. Stability while playing is very important. When this is this thick, this is again copper. A lot of people do this because copper is sold on weight. It's not sold by piece. By using iron in place of copper, he's getting a higher price for this. Most people, but in Calcutta, it's become so rampant that they are, even when I tried to get it manufactured in this style, they could not. Even though I was willing to pay the money. What happens in this? What is wrong? Can you see this doesn't want to sit down?
Yeah.
So bad, it doesn't want to sit. Why? Your weight should be on the bottom. When you're modulating this, if it's a top heavy Maya, then what is going to happen? This is going to rock. You can't play.
Right.
Then you'll come and tell me I want special rings because this is rocking. You'll try everything, it won't stop rocking. So you want something that is naturally bottom heavy. The ideal Maya to buy is something that's naturally. Look at this. It even has a plastic sheet. This should be more unstable.
Right.
But look at how stable this is. And this has nothing, but it doesn't want to sit. Again, copper. This is about 4 to 4.5 kgs. That one is 3 kilos. Heavier. It should be more stable. Look, it won't sit.
Right.
And when you gently touch it, it topples over.
Yeah.
So think about the force you're applying when you're modulating this. So you don't want something with a very heavy ring. Unfortunately, most of you won't know when you're buying a tabla whether it's top heavy or bottom heavy. In case you're lucky enough that you're going there, you want to watch this, right? We use metals including lead to stabilize this weight in these cases. Just because we want to balance it out. I use steel also for those who are scared of using lead. Okay, so you can the sound. If you're using metal, if you want to know whether you're buying something with a metal inside, it's not cheating. It's to balance it. No Banaras player worth his salt will play a baya without lead in it. We say it makes it sweeter. Does it? I don't know. We just say कि मिठास आती है. We all use lead. Banaras players will use lead. Okay. But if you are very particular, hit this. This hollow sound won't come. It'll come as a filled sound if this is there. On a built tabla, it'll sound different, right? The other thing is look whether it's top heavy or not. So when there is a putty covering, you can't see the shape, but there are certain things that you can do. Look for that balance there and look for whether it's top heavy or bottom heavy. You want to buy something that is bottom heavy. Okay,
Right.
very easy. When you're a novice, you're going in to buy. This is a steel Maya. I recommend this to all players. I can speak about Sandeep Das. He'll happily play this on the largest stage with an audience of 5,000. So nothing wrong with steel. If the putty is good, it'll still play well. It costs a fraction if you're looking to save money by this. Steel. Nothing wrong with steel. Okay. Then you have copper, brass, and I don't know if I took the brass one out or yeah, that is brass. Certain people come to me and ask for inscriptions on this, you know. If you want to shine the flashlight yellow colored brass, and we call this as Nakashi, inscriptions done. They like these inscriptions. I don't care about them, but you can have that. Now, this copper is a hammered finish. This I prefer because when it dents, the dents don't show on the outside.
Okay.
So the dents don't show too much because of the hammered finish. So I like this over others. And I'll show you something unique. The closest I have to a clay Maya, this is made out of fiberglass. These are also available. I had to get these manufactured in case you want to buy these, but you know, the advantage of fiberglass is nice sound, very strong, and not very heavy. So, you know, it really depends. Is there a place in the market for this? I don't know. It depends on how crazy people want to get. Fiberglass Maya. Any questions on the Maya?
This is the first time I have seen a fiberglass Maya. I've never seen that.
Any questions on the Maya? No. Okay. Maya putties come like this. You want this flexibility. When the Maya putty becomes very thick, it becomes difficult to play. You need a lot more strength to play. The, you know, the beauty of, this is not a Banaras putty. This is a Vatkar putty, by the way, for those who are curious. Okay. This putty itself costs 10,000 rupees in India. One of the most expensive ones. Banaras putties cost a fraction of that price, but when this is thin, it'll play well in a high tone, it'll play well tight, it'll play well loose.
Okay.
The syahi is ideal, optimal. When you put a lot of syahi on this and have a thick skin, I would suggest you start playing dholaks instead of tablas. That's my personal opinion. You know, those things are not worth. They are not playable. You know, they are. You're taking the beauty out of that.
Right.
So, ideally, you want these skins that have this flexibility in them.
Yeah.
Tuning the Maya is very difficult. Pulling this would take about 3 times the strength of pulling this. Remember, I said no water on this. When we pull this, we always put water and wet this.
Oh, okay.
Such a large diameter to pull. Without using water, it won't sit well, because unless this sits well, you cannot even begin to tune it.
Right.
So we always use water. Those I would advocate saying, don't start dumping water, you'll destroy your putty. You know, learn from someone and after that do that, the Maya, sitting and hitchy. It's very important. Yes, the question that is being asked.
Rajesh Bhai is asking, can you please show how a fiberglass dagga would sound? Do you have one?
I don't have a putty on this.
Yeah.
By the
Rajesh
way,
Bhai, you'll have to come
Rajesh,
here.
Rajesh, this particular dagga belongs to Chris Perigi. Those who are local and who know him know that this is, you know, he's one of those guys who collects things. It sounds awesome, Rajesh. I want to tell you that. There's no difference in the sound between this and the other metallic, this ones. You know, it does sound awesome. The use case is, the only use case that I could find for fiberglass, you're not getting the context of clay with fiberglass. So take that out of the picture, is portability.
Ease of carrying.
Ease of carrying it with a lighter weight for artists like yourself who are traveling, even more for other artists who are traveling cross country. Like if I talk of Sandeep Das, he is probably in France on Monday. He's somewhere in, some other part of the world on Wednesday. And then he's in California on Friday and back in Boston on Sunday. So he's traveling so much. He wants items that are light. He doesn't want anything that is heavy, because it becomes painful to carry these. And it led a famous tabla player to once comment, next life, I still want to be a musician, but I want to play the flute so that I don't carry the stupid bag with me everywhere. I can put things inside my shirt and travel. It becomes a chore after a certain point. Especially artists like Rajesh would realize this, that carrying it is not easy. It's a pain.
Okay, so we have 12:40, 12:45. So what else do we need to cover?
I can talk a lot more. There's a lot more to show. We can do a follow-up session if
Can we do a
needed.
little bit on CI?
Sure. I think that's the last part left. So
Yeah.
No, we are talking about other instruments. Let me cover other
let's
instruments
finish
also.
just the tabla today.
Okay.
I don't think we'll get time for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Shai work. You need a flat piece. I'm using this. Tools that you need for Siahi work, right? You will need the lava stone for tuning. And I'll experiment. I'll do a little bit here, but I won't do too much now because it's very fine work. But I'll show people how to make this. I'm hoping that everybody can see this board, right? And you need some water always when you're working with the tabla. We keep this handy. I keep this with a cover bought from the dollar store because I have a dog, and the dog is always interested in either knocking it around and making it fall or sipping from it. So I make sure there's a cover on this to protect myself from the dog. This is so hard, I really can't show anything. This, I was assuming, I can show a little bit from the inside. This is your lehi. What is this? You take all-purpose flour, you mix water into it, make it like a dosa batter. That's the ideal thing that I can think of, that thickness. Put your stove on medium and keep stirring it till it gets closer. It becomes a glue, right? I'm going to break this because the inside you can see you're going to get softness. Okay, outside is hard, the inside. And for those who are looking at this, you need this glue like nature from the lehi. You take this, traditionally they'll have a stone to mix this. Okay, I'm going to show you the Western way to do this. It's very easy. I'm going to dilute this with water first. Few drops of water. Don't pour it in. Always put a drop or two. Start rubbing it in. There's already some shai here, so you'll see a lot of black. Now I use another one to just get rid of anything which is here. You don't need a lot to start working. That little piece that I took is enough to start working. So you continuously start doing this till it becomes very soft. When it becomes dry, again put another few drops of water here. And you do this. You don't need that rubbing stone. What you want to do is make it very flexible. At a certain stage, I'll show this string, which you can show. It's already mixed with the siahi powder because this is a board that I'm using. It's become black. Otherwise, you add a little bit of siahi powder in this, which is there. Don't come to me for siahi powder. Get it from India. I do not sell siahi powder for those of you who are interested. I can always order some for you. It doesn't come by courier. It has to come by my container whenever my container comes. So you'll have to order well in advance, and I need those orders in advance if you want siahi powder. Or if somebody is traveling from India, have them go to a tabla making shop and get a little bit of siahi masala. So you'll see this has become very flexible, right? Now, loose, flexible, everything, okay? And I'll try to do this where it comes in. Do you see this line here of siahi masala?
Yes, I can.
We do a lot more of this. Certain people have been with me as I'm working with siahi and repairing their mayas. One word of caution, never try to do this on a dahina. A dahina has to be balanced. The thap chart or the maidan and the kinar need to be balanced. 360, same tonal quality. When you play in the center, it's on the rishab. Very perfect tuning. Even a little bit of extra siahi or less siahi is going to change that tonal quality. That is why you are dependent on tabla makers. Takes a long time to master. After more than 30 years, I'm still learning. That's how long it takes. We say that Syahi work is best done by the second generation.
Okay.
So if the first generation spends their whole lifetime, the second generation starts making a dent.
Okay.
For those who are curious, the Vatkars are the third or the fourth generation right now
Okay.
in making tablas, right? So you take this in your hand. I'll show this to you like this. Repairing bias with Syahi is okay. Okay. And this tabla, if you don't know what you're doing, you'll close the sound of the tabla. So always be very cautious when doing this. I'm just filling a little piece of gap here on the Syahi that is gone. I didn't mix a lot of Syahi. I'm just fixing this in. Okay. But once you do this, use a tongue cleaner. These tools are not available for everybody. Take the excess off so that it's spread out very uniformly. I'll try to show you the excess. It's in a very minute quality. Okay. Take this excess off. When you're done and this becomes dry, you're using the lava stone. Clean your lava stone before use. You don't want any abrasions, otherwise it'll make new holes for you instead of helping you.
Right.
And then start rubbing this. When manufacturing a Syahi, our hand starts to ache. We do so much of this, our hand starts to ache, so we switch hands. Switch hands and keep rotating this so that you're getting it from different angles. One hand is rotating, one hand is rubbing. One hand is rotating, one hand is rubbing.
Right.
I'm just showing you the basics. Okay? This is a lot more in-depth in this. In order to work, you need to work under supervision so that you don't close the sound. The best thing to do is work on tablas like this where the pudi needs to be changed. It's a piece of trash. If you want to learn this art, work on stuff that is trash so that you get your hand, you get to understand the weight of the hand, how to do it. Muscle memory is very important here. You can't struggle with this. You need to be able to do it blind. When you get to that level, you can start the Syahi work. Otherwise, you don't want to do it.
Okay, so a couple of questions. Are there any non-leather pudi that are used?
I've seen certain synthetic pudis. I don't like them.
Why?
The sound quality is not there. It's a synthetic pudi. It's a synthetic sound. The kanjira is a South Indian instrument from Chennai or from Tamil Nadu. The kanjira, which is played in Carnatic music. It's made with the skin of a lizard. That lizard has become endangered. Remo Drums has come up with a synthetic skin which very closely matches that lizard. The Remo Kanjira today sells for over $100. People buy it because those who play the Kanjira need that sound quality. But in such cases where you don't want to hurt make the lizard extinct by driving it, by manufacturing these drums, I would take human consideration there. It's acceptable. You have a very simple thing I'll show you. I'll show you a very simple thing. I do a lot of work with Satya Sai Center. I'm going to come behind you, Raviji, for showing the difference between leather and synthetic.
Okay.
On a very no, sit. I don't need much space. I'll just show something. The Satya Sai Center has many qualified players. Those who learned music for 10 years, 15 years, and every instrument they're looking for good acoustics in their instruments. And they're not going to settle for something, less than perfect. This is a drum you play in a temple. You can hear the plastic. Tunable.
Yeah.
Just for that center, I've got these drums made. I'll show you. Same drum. I got these made in leather. plastic and leather. The sound is more, it's more pleasant to the ears. Plastic sounds like you're playing a bucket. Leather. I've got a djembe on that side. A lot of you can't see it. It's got a Remo head, which is again a very expensive. Remo is one of the good manufacturers of the Western world. So I've got a djembe that with a Remo head. I still don't like it. And I've got a djembe that was made in Banaras specifically for me, which I got for very less money. And that djembe with a leather head sounds so much better. It's so real. It's been used a lot. And those are, leather always has a better sound quality than plastic.
Okay. Another question. Do you now fix broken syahi without having to replace the putty?
I do not. You ask me why. Because this is a labor of love. When I am doing syahi work, first off, the only syahi work that I do, and I've always done, is for artists of a certain nature. Secondly, the artist and me need to have a rapport. Only then will I.
This is from Rajesh ji.
But
So we're going to
the
test your
amount of
rapport
time.
with Rajesh.
Rajesh is a very good friend of mine. He knows me from a time immemorial, right? But when I'm working on a dahina, even the best tabla maker may destroy the dahina, have to do all of that. It may take me 2 to 3 days to finish one. I don't get paid for that time. And then not only getting paid, I'm one person doing, Ravi Bhai has come to my house so many times. He's seen my shop always has a backlog of more than 100 tablas. So every day I have 100 angry customers waiting to get their instruments back, So I can't take that amount of time. Yeah, if it's a Maya, I'll fix it. If it's an artist and if I know them very well. On a Dahina, I don't have the time to fix them. Can I? I can. There's only one person that I do it for. Only one person Sandeep does. The relationship that I have with him is very unique. And I don't care about time, space, or money with that gentleman. Not to undermine the other artists who are better than him, maybe. But my relationship there is I cannot say no. If I had the courage to say no to him, I would have said no to him also.
Okay, so Rajesh got his answer.
Okay. There's always few people like that.
Rajesh, just get a new putty. Okay, good. Okay. Any other questions? We can go on, as Ramana said, we can go on, we can talk about other instruments.
I mean, feedback is very important, right? We can talk about other instruments, we can spend a lot more time, and I can go extempore for 8 hours, as long as you guys are awake, and my support doesn't fall off. They didn't have breakfast also.
No, we had breakfast at home, so good.
So, this is, and I can go on and on, but feedback is important because what happens is I can conduct sessions every month, I can conduct sessions every week, I can conduct sessions every year, but you guys need to send a list of topics to LearnQuest and we can do a follow-up session. Even during the Spring Festival, we can append a session at the very end on dholak, on dhol, on pakhavaj, on other instruments, but we need to hear from you and your feedback will help us tune these sessions. I can answer, I've kept these as an open forum. Anybody can ask any question they want.
Yep. And there's something about working with handcrafted instruments. These are not precise. This requires, as you said, this is a labor of love.
Labor of love, absolutely.
Excellent.
We do have a next session coming up on harmonium, right?
Yes, that's coming up in 2 weeks. So Pallavi, now back to you. Thank you, Ramana.
Thank you, Ramana.
Thank you all. Radhe, Radhe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramanaji. This was such a wonderful, informative, and just an amazingly wonderful session and a great start and such an auspicious start to our conference. I thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the committee at LearnQuest for this. Our next workshop for all of you is again by Ramanaji on the upkeep and of harmonium, how to tune and keep your harmonium working. That is on February 10th. And for, reach out to us if you have any questions for Ramanaji on Tabla in the meantime. Please attend the harmonium workshop and other workshops and leg dems we have coming up for you, leading up to our festival on March 29th. This starts on March 29th, that weekend, and the weekend of April 13th. We have a wonderful lineup of artists. You can go to our website, learnquest.org, and see our schedule for all the wonderful artists that we have. But thank you all again for your attention today and for coming and for supporting LearnQuest and learning so much about the tabla.
There is one thing I wanted to mention, Pallavi. Thank you for that. We can accommodate in our sessions one or two local people in person if they wish to. They'll need to coordinate with the LearnQuest coordinators. And we can accommodate at least one person if they want to attend in person for a deeper insight into what it takes for the touch and feel the experience here. So whenever we do these sessions, do reach out to the coordinators. Your feedback is important, and we can service certain special requests based on our space considerations and time considerations. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Shirade.
Thank you. Have a wonderful